Number 1. DJI Sky City.
You look out your window as you approach the office, and your brain immediately tries to tell you that there's a glitch in the matrix. Before you stand two massive glass towers, but they aren't connected to the ground in any way that makes sense to the human eye. Instead, massive boxy cantilevered sections hang off central cores like giant Lego blocks suspended in thin air. This is DJI Sky City in Shenzhen, the global nerve center for the world leader in drone technology. For any engineer walking through these doors, the message is clear before they even scan their badge. Gravity is no longer a rule. It is a suggestion. The engineering deep dive. The art of the cantilever. How do you make thousands of tons of steel and glass look weightless? To an American audience, think of this as a giant suspension bridge turned vertically. Traditional skyscrapers rely on perimeter pillars that block views and create a heavy aesthetic. DJI's architects did the impossible. They built a massive, ultra-reinforced central core, essentially a giant steel spine, and then hung the office blocks off that spine using high-tensile steel trusses. This allows the towers to extend outward by nearly 100 feet with absolutely nothing underneath them. This structural daring creates sky gardens, open-air floating parks, hundreds of feet above the ground with transparent glass floors. But the beauty serves a purpose. DJI designed this building to be a living, breathing flight laboratory. 9 stories up, a hardware engineer can literally slide open a floor-to-ceiling window, launch a prototype drone into a high-altitude testing zone to see how the sensors handle urban wind shear, and then land it back on their desk for a software patch. It is a headquarters designed not just to house people, but to fly.
Number 2. Tencent Seafront.
You step into a lobby that feels less like a building and more like the interior of a massive sentient computer. This is the Tencent Seafront headquarters, the home of WeChat, the super app used by over 1 billion people. When Tencent decided to build, they didn't want 2 separate towers. They wanted a vertical city. The result is twin skyscrapers, 820 feet and 520 feet tall, stitched together by 3 massive sky bridges that serve as the building's circulatory system. The Typhoon Nightmare and the AI Solution. For any engineer, the nightmare of connecting 2 towers is the wind. Shenzhen is a high-intensity typhoon zone. Skyscrapers are designed to sway for safety, but if you connect 2 separate buildings with a rigid steel bridge, the independent sway of the towers would act like a giant pair of scissors, snapping the bridge in half. Tencent's solution was pure sci-fi. They created dynamic joints. These sky bridges aren't bolted down. They sit on high-tech bearings and hydraulic systems powered by a building-wide AI. As a storm hits, the AI calculates the movement of each tower in milliseconds and allows the bridges to slide and flex independently. Inside, these bridges aren't just hallways. The Health Bridge features a full-sized running track and a rock-climbing wall hanging 100 feet in the air. The Knowledge Bridge features a library and an indoor forest. It's a 24/7 ecosystem that uses 40% less energy than a standard building, because the facade breathes, opening and closing vents to catch sea breezes instead of relying on air conditioning.
Number 3. Huawei Oxhorn Campus.
You pull up to your office for a 5G development meeting, but instead of a parking garage in a crowded city, you see a medieval castle reflected in a pristine lake. You blink, wondering if you've been transported to 19th century Germany. This is the Huawei Oxhorn campus in Dongguan. Spread across 4.6 million square feet, Huawei did something that sounds completely insane. They built 12 separate towns, each one a perfect architectural replica of a famous European city, including Heidelberg, Paris, Verona, and Granada. The psychology of the flow state. Why would a Chinese tech giant spend billions to build a fake Europe? It's a masterclass in psychological engineering. Huawei believes that if you put brilliant minds in a high-stress, sterile tech environment, they will eventually burn out. But if you put them in a beautiful, walkable, historic environment, their creativity will skyrocket. With 100,000 employees on site, the campus is larger than many actual U.S. cities. To manage the traffic without the noise of cars, they built a private, high-speed autonomous train system. A fleet of bright red, vintage-style trains snakes through 7 miles of track, connecting the 12 towns. But don't let the cobblestone streets fool you. Beneath the old-world charm is a massive brain center that monitors the energy usage of every single building, using 30% less electricity by recycling water and heat throughout the entire country.
Number 4. OPPO Headquarters, Shenzhen.
You stand at the base of a building that doesn't have a top or a bottom, but is instead a perfect, shimmering ring of glass that seems to have landed from another galaxy. This is the OPPO O Tower. In the world of branding, consistency is king. When OPPO commissioned a new tower, they didn't want a logo on top of a building. They wanted the building itself to be the logo. The geometric nightmare, parametric perfection. Architects usually hate circles. In a standard building, you have 90-degree angles for desks, pipes, and elevators. In a circle, everything is a curve. Every single one of the thousands of glass panels on the O Tower had to be custom cut using parametric design software. Imagine a 10,000-piece puzzle where no two pieces are the same shape. If a single panel was off by half an inch, the entire ring would lose its structural integrity. Because the center of the building is hollow, every single employee has a window view. There is no dark middle of the office. The hollow center creates a natural chimney effect, pulling hot air up and out, while the smart skin of the tower actually rotates its shades to follow the sun.
Number 5. Ping An Finance Center.
You step into an elevator and feel a slight pressure in your ears as you are launched nearly 2,000 feet straight up into the clouds. Standing at 1,965 feet, the Ping An Finance Center is a tapered needle of stainless steel. It is the fourth tallest building on the planet and the anchor of Shenzhen's financial district. Defeating the elements. 1,700 shock absorbers. When you get to nearly 2,000 feet, the wind doesn't just blow, it exerts hundreds of thousands of pounds of pressure. To prevent the building from snapping, engineers shaped the top like a flute to let wind flow around it. But the real magic is hidden. To stop the sway that causes motion sickness, engineers installed 1,700 massive dampers, the world's largest car suspension system. When the wind pushes the building left, these dampers push a massive weight to the right, canceling the movement. The foundation goes 180 feet deep into solid bedrock, deeper than many skyscrapers are tall.
Number 6. China Resources Tower.
You walk into a 20,000-square-foot office floor and realize you can see the entire city in a 360-degree panorama because there isn't a single concrete pillar in your way. Known locally as the Spring Bamboo, this 1,280-foot tower is a symbol of growth and flexibility. The diagrid secret. How do you make a building look like a smooth, curved plant? You move the bones to the outside. Engineers used a diagrid system, a massive web of diagonal steel on the exterior that carries the entire weight of the tower. This external skeleton allows for a completely open interior. It also features an active facade that opens vents to allow the building to inhale fresh air, making it feel less like a sealed office and more like a park in the sky.
Number 7. Tencent Helix.
You witness a structural paradox, two towers that twist around each other in a perfect double helix, appearing to wring themselves like a wet towel. The Tencent Helix is a biological skyscraper that celebrates the building blocks of life, the structural paradox of torque. A twisting building naturally wants to fall down because gravity creates torque, a twisting force. To solve this, Tencent's engineers created a coupled core, where the two towers actually lean on each other for stability. Every single floor plate is slightly rotated, meaning the plumbing, elevators, and steel beams are all unique. There is no copy-paste here. It is a one-of-a-kind engineering feat.
Number 8. CCTV Headquarters.
You look up at a horizontal section of a building that hangs 525 feet in the air with no pillars underneath it, and wonder how it hasn't crashed into the Beijing streets. This is the CCTV headquarters, a continuous loop of two leaning towers. The 3 a.m. link. The most famous story here is the connection. Because steel expands in the sun and shrinks in the cold, engineers had to wait until 3 a.m. on a specific day when the temperature was perfectly uniform to weld the two sides together. It was a multi-billion-dollar all-or-nothing moment that redefined what a skyscraper could be.
Number 9. OPPO Hangzhou.
You approach a building that looks like a wave caught in a photograph, a series of flowing glass curves that look like liquid motion. Located in Hangzhou, this building uses 12,000 unique glass panels to create its frozen wave look, the ventilation wave. These curves aren't just for style. They are positioned to catch the wind coming off the nearby mountains and funnel it through the lobby, providing natural cooling even on the hottest summer days.
Number 10. Infinitus Plaza.
You step into an office where the air quality exceeds hospital standards and the building itself seems to be monitoring your heartbeat. Designed by Zaha Hadid, Infinitus Plaza is a series of interconnected rings shaped like the infinity symbol. The wellness revolution. Sensors in every room track CO2 levels. If the air gets stale, the building automatically pumps in oxygen-rich air from outdoor gardens. It recycles 90% of its water and uses green roofs as natural insulation, achieving the highest possible sustainability ratings.
Number 11, NetDragon.
You pull into work and realize you are quite literally boarding the USS Enterprise. The CEO of NetDragon spent $160 million to build a 1-to-1 scale replica of the iconic Star Trek ship. The saucer engineering. To make the saucer hang over the edges without collapsing, engineers used a radial beam system spokes like a bicycle wheel that pull the weight into a central pillar. Inside, elevators look like transporters and 3-story slides replace stairs.
Number 12, Alibaba Web.
You walk through the campus and realize you haven't touched a door handle or pulled out a badge all day. The building knows exactly who you are. This is the Alibaba Web in Hangzhou, the no-badge building. This is the smartest building on Earth. Facial recognition opens doors, elevators know your floor, and the cafeteria knows your diet. The white mesh exterior protects 2.6 million square feet from the sun while letting in 100% natural light. What have we learned from these 12 impossible structures? Why spend hundreds of billions on floating towers and DNA spirals? Because these are the cathedrals of the 21st century. In the past, kings built monuments to show power. Today, tech giants build them to show vision. When you work in a building that defies gravity, you start to believe that nothing is impossible. China has proven that we don't have to live in gray boxes, we can live in art.